Coming to you live from the Cowboys headquarters in Frisco. Deep in the heart of Texas, it's the Star at Night.
Wow, dramatic much?
Why are you getting in the way of my intro?
You mean our intro? We're your hosts. I'm Kelsey Charles.
And I'm David Hellman.
Okay, let's just start this show now.
Just gonna get it out of the way at the top of the show. Yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt from the intro that we did 2 years ago.
I'm wearing the same skirt, I just realized that.
I'm a big believer in recycling outfits, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Save the planet.
Nobody said the Star at Night was a fashion-forward show, with all due respect to you. You look a lot better than I do.
We just need a wardrobe budget, is what I just heard.
Derek Eagleton, wardrobe budget.
Write that blank check, let's go.
In the meantime, what I might lack in fashion sense, I have a grasp on the big moment.
Oh.
And that is what happens on the Star at Night. We are here to get you through the big moments in the year, none bigger than the 2022, I can't even talk, NFL Draft, which is only a week away.
That's shocking.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I feel like they just lost to the 49ers like 48 hours ago.
Why'd you got to bring that part up? I was just going to say off-season just began.
I wanted to needle them.
Yeah.
I wanted to needle them a little bit, because guess what? They got to get a hell of a lot better from the team that lost to the Niners in this draft if they're going to make any progress. And Kels, I'm a little worried that that's a lot of work to do.
They got a lot of needs.
3 short days. They do. Taking a look at offense, we're going to jump right into it with the Cowboys offense. A year unlike any that I can remember, in the sense that, again, the Cowboys have a lot of needs and not a lot of time to fix them, starting for my money with the offensive line.
Okay.
You lose Connor Williams to free agency. He goes to Miami. Wasn't that great when he was here, by the way, and the Cowboys' answer to it has been...
Nada.
You tell me.
I don't feel good about any answer that they've provided or haven't provided thus far. That's why it's a pretty important need, and I think we all feel that across the board. Listen, they had how many combinations at offensive line last year?
Oh, they don't have a swing tackle,
That is not a good thing, guys.
They don't have a swing tackle. I guess
don't.
Josh Ball, who didn't play last year, if you want to lean on that.
Yeah, no, I don't want to lean on that, actually. And also, let's not forget that we love Tyron Smith in this house, but you know what? They're going to have to figure out a solution for that. I would say sooner
12th
rather than later.
season.
Yes.
This is his 12th season.
Nothing makes me feel good about this offensive line other than Zach Martin, and I do not want to put him in this position where we have to be making him be one of those guys who can showcase his position flex, because that to me shows that we've got some issues to solve.
This is where I would love to say, okay, you draft an offensive lineman, piece of cake, there's plenty of good ones available, but what about receiver, Kels? Because they traded Amari Cooper to Cleveland, they lost Cedric Wilson also to Miami.
Yes.
Dolphins, what's going on?
What are they?
You're taking all our players. Those two are off. Michael Gallup recovering from an ACL.
Correct.
James Washington was signed in March. I don't think of that as like a long-term answer, and so I look at CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and then what?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
How you feeling?
I'm not feeling good. Thank you so much for asking. This is another one of those position groups where there were high expectations. Previous wide receiver cores have set the bar high. We went into last season talking about the potential production level of this unit, right? 3 potential 1,000-yard receivers. And now you're really hoping that CeeDee Lamb is ready to be that #1 guy. I'm not sure that everyone in the entire world believes that they can match the level of productivity that Amari Cooper and team was able to do together. So I definitely think it's a very major need.
We overuse the phrase life comes at you fast.
Yes.
How about league comes at you fast? Which, speaking of life coming at you fast, a part of this puzzle that's worth mentioning is Dalton Schultz as a pass catcher. He's here.
Yes.
$11 million, by the way.
Get paid, my guy.
No, absolutely thrilled for Dalton, but I do wonder for the future of the franchise, tight end, another position they would probably be wise to look at in the draft. Again, they're running out of picks to do all this with.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Dalton Schultz is incredible. I think that we're both personal fans of him. I also
still haven't followed him up on those taco recommendations.
We have to do that. We really do.
We might only have one more year to do it.
Exactly, which is why this team does indeed need to address that position. Dalton Schultz has come up and really stepped into the shoes this team needed him to fill. But let's face it, they're going to need to have more depth there. They're going to need to have more viable answers, whether that's going to be a compliment for him or a future answer for this team. So offensively, they got some shoes to fill.
It's almost like the inverse of last year when they had a need at every defensive position, which at least they have that going for them.
I actually have a nice little list here.
The defensive needs aren't as bad, right?
Are you sure about that?
I feel okay.
Okay, because I'm just looking at a nice little laundry list, dare I say, of things that I personally believe this team might need on the defensive side of the ball, and I need to get your thoughts, because let's start with the one that hurts probably the most.
Don't say it.
You know where I'm going with this.
Don't say it.
Randy! Defensive end. You got DeMarcus Lawrence back. You did a deal. That was great. We're happy to have him in the building. You need that leadership. I think a lot of people really were banking on the upside of Randy. You saw some flashes from him. Let's get him in here for a full season. That was an insane way to not have him come back as a Cowboy. He's going to be in Denver. Water under the bridge, salt in the wound, whatever you want to call it. Talk to me about that position.
Those are two different things. Water under the bridge implies that you're over
I'm
it.
trying to.
Salt in the wound implies that you're not.
Listen, two perspectives for you. Give me yours.
Randy, come back. You can blame it all on me. I mean, all of that said, okay, defensive end is the biggest defensive need on this team.
Sure.
They signed Dante Fowler. It's a one-year deal. I am going to give Dan Quinn some benefit of the doubt. He's coached him in Atlanta. Dan Quinn brought so much out of the talent that was here last year. They bring back Dorrance Armstrong. It's not a cure-all, but they could play football with the ends that are on their roster right now, which is more than you can say about some positions on the offensive side of the ball.
Okay. Are you saying that you feel good about it?
I feel fine about it. But did you hear my voice kind of quake when I said that?
Convincing.
I would like to spend a top 100 pick on a defensive end, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
All right, let's go to the second level of defense here for a minute. Linebacker. We talked about it a lot last season for obvious reasons. You just talked about the value that DQ was able to get out of some of those guys up front. Well, talk about value. Micah Parsons is a monster. He's a beast. Everyone is so excited to have him on the team.
Dog.
You bring back LVE on a one-year deal. Yeah. But behind that, are we feeling good about the depth? I'm not trying to speak poorly on your guy, Jabril.
Yeah, you are.
But are you feeling good about the options
in
terms of the linebacker position group?
I feel pretty damn good, honestly.
Wow.
Micah Parsons, all-pro. Leighton Vander Esch, serviceable player that they bring back on a one-year deal. My guy, Jabril Cox, big plans for Jabril Cox this year.
That's what he's trying to say.
He goes, oh. On top of that, okay, but this is the real wild card that people forget about. Jaron Kearse is a linebacker. That's what he does. They bring him down in the box in passing situations. He covers tight ends. He plays down by the line of scrimmage way more than the secondary. When you combine those four players, again, they're fine. They'll be okay.
Well, speaking of fine, oftentimes on game days, I'm not fine when it comes to special teams. So I'm not going to do a lot of prefacing when it comes
Speaking of Tigers.
Next position group.
Kickers! Go draft Cade York. End of segment. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it.
Dicker the kicker, come on.
Cade York did way more than Dicker the kicker.
I'm not worried
National
about that.
champion Cade York. Prosper's own Cade York. He's from right up the road.
But hook him, though.
He wouldn't have to move. Is Texas back? Is Texas back?
Okay.
Is that what
I think you're supposed to be answering the question right now.
Texas's best draft prospect this year is a kicker, by the way, just in case that was
No!
lost on anybody. Just saying. Look, I don't care at the end of the day who it is. If they want to draft Cameron Dicker, that's fine. But the Cowboys have 4 fifth-round picks. They should use one of them on a kicker.
While I go lick my wounds, we're going to go ahead and prepare for our next guest, because we have quite the analyst joining us, our one and only Dane Brugler, coming up next.
Welcome back to the show. I don't know how this happens every year, but the NFL draft is already just a week away.
Ow.
It feels like we spin our wheels for months and months, and then at the same time, I'm always surprised when it gets here. Guess what? Surprise quickly leads into excitement, and I am so excited because we're going to preview the draft. A guy that I quite simply don't see enough of, my old buddy, the draft show cohort, the best draft analyst working in the NFL today, the Athletics, Dane Brugler. gracious enough to come on and spend a few minutes with us. You've graduated to the big time. The beast is out.
Yep.
You're live streaming the draft next weekend in Las Vegas. How you doing, man? And how busy are you right now? My God.
Hey, nobody wants to talk draft with me, the day after the 4th of July. I'm there talking and no one listens. So, no, this has been great. The feedback from the draft guide's been awesome. Any chance I have to, hook up with you two guys, I'm on board. I missed my time at the Star, but I'm glad we're able to kind of reconnect like this.
That's which we're so happy for Dane off with the Athletic. The draft is going to be great, but people always give me grief back on the draft show. They're like, well, you don't know as much as Dane. And I'm like, yeah, Dane starts watching prospects July 4th. Like you said, I can't compete. The next best thing is to have you here. So we're going to dive in to the Cowboys draft. And Dane, obviously you look at the whole league, but you spent plenty of years focusing on the Cowboys as well. Does it feel as unique to you as it does to me that their needs this year seem even more obvious than maybe they usually do?
Yeah, and we know that this team will more times than not focus in on certain positions in the first round. It seems like each year we can kind of boil it down to corner or pass rusher, or we've got a short list of names we feel good about, but there's always a CD Lamb that could be thrown into the mix where maybe we didn't think a player would fall to where the Cowboys were picking, or we have a surprise. So that's the beauty of the draft is anything is possible, especially when you're picking at 24. We don't know how those first 23 picks are going to play out, especially in this year's draft, which is, everyone's draft boards are different from team to team, especially so this year when we're just missing those blue chippers at the top. It seems like the upper class of prospects this year is a very short list, where that middle class is robust. And because of that, we've got a lot of players on similar lines in terms of stacking these guys. And so I think we're going to see a lot of surprises in the first round. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe a player or two is there at 24 that maybe the Cowboys did not expect.
I actually want to dive into that a minute. And real quick, this is, I just have to
put it up on the camera, yeah.
I just have to show off my Beast edition. If you don't think that I nerd out this time of year over Dane Brugler's work, then you're wrong. But going through all of the little tabs that I've made in the notes, we've obviously been talking a lot about 24. I want to get your thoughts on some of the guys that you think could be a surprise at 24 if they were still available. But then, this team always talks a lot about value, right? It seems like they really try to get as much as they can out of some of the later rounds. So how about some names for us to think about come, I don't know, second, third, fifth, all of those. They have a handful of fifth rounders this year they have to get rid of. So give us some guys to watch then, too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, in the first, a guy like Jordan Davis, I don't think he's going to fall. And we know how this team views nose tackles in the first round. But there's a first for everything. And could Jordan Davis maybe skew their thinking about taking a nose tackle in the first round? I think that would be interesting to see where Jordan Davis falls. The receivers are really interesting in this draft. It's a top-heavy position this year. We're going to see these guys fly off the board. I think 6, 7, maybe 8 wide receivers in the first round. It's possible. And if the right receiver is there, that could be a fit. And, whether that's Chris Olave, whether it's Treylon Burks. I think that the betting odds would be that we're going to see a guard at 24, whether it's Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green. But depending on the right receiver that's there, or maybe they just have a high grade on say like a Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. They never expected to be there at 24, but maybe he falls that far, and you just stay true to your board at that point. Do you go with the position maybe that's viewed as a greater need? We've seen this team do both in the first round in past years, so I think that there's a lot of differing ways that first round could play out. And then second, third round, I did a 7-round mock recently on the Athletic, and for the Cowboys, I had them going Sam Williams, the pass rusher out of Ole Miss in the second round. And I think that when you you look at Dan Quinn and the way he wants to operate this defense. He wants guys who attack on the edges. Sam Williams does that. He's a little straight line-ish, but his juice to get after the quarterback, disrupt with the backfield action, what they want to do. He's got that. He's got physical hands, heavy at contact, and that first step and that finishing step are what you love about Sam Williams. Jelani Woods out of Virginia, he was the 3rd round pick. A guy that's crushed the process. I think he was maybe a 5th rounder at this time last year. But you add, transfers from Oklahoma State to Virginia, has an outstanding year, goes to the Shrine Game, has an outstanding week down there, crushes the combine. For a guy that's 6'7", over 250 pounds, to run a 4.61. His times, the jumps were outstanding. The 3-cone was terrific. I think Jelani Woods is one of those players that's rising. And we know this team's probably going to draft a tight end at some point. 3rd round, 4th round, that's the sweet spot for a lot of these tight ends. Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State is another one of my favorites at the position who, again, the value in the 3rd round I think is tremendous. And if they wait later on, a player that I really liked, that I didn't have high expectations for going in, Deron Bland out of Fresno State, the corner. When you have a guy with length, with speed, and with toughness, that's what you want to bet on in the later rounds. And I think Deron Bland, if they're going to draft a corner on day 3, he would make a lot of sense.
You touched on this a little bit, and we've talked during this draft process about how much you love this edge rusher class. But I am curious, and one of my favorite things about covering the draft with you all those years is I think you and I both, in a way, tend to get even more excited about the guys starting like pick 33 to pick like 100. There's just so much value to be found there. And I'm curious, it can be edge rusher if that's what you want, or you can go any direction you want. But is there a position, particularly on Friday, day 2 of the draft, where you're excited about the value that can be found there?
Edge rusher definitely applies. I think, when we talk about the best positions in this draft, we talk about at the top, the blue chippers. We could talk about, which position is going to give us the most starters, or we could just talk about overall depth, which position is going to stretch out the deeper you go into the draft. I think edge rusher fits all 3 of those categories. It's got the guys at the top. We're going to see Aiden Hutchinson, Travon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau. Those guys are going to fly off the board pretty quickly. But even into day 2, talking about 2nd and 3rd rounds, there's going to be starters in this group. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, Logan Hall from Houston, I'm a big fan of. Drake Jackson from USC, I think is a very underrated player. Nick Bonito, if you're looking for a speed demon off the edge, Nick Bonito is your guy. You have to figure out what you're going to do with him in the run game, but that burst and the way he can capture the corner, that's Nick Bonito. So I think this draft, the pass rush class, has a little bit of everything. Josh Paschal out of Kentucky. It's funny, you line up Josh Paschal next to George Karlaftis, they have almost identical in terms of testing numbers, in terms of a lot of the production. A lot of the things are very, very similar, but you're talking about at least 1 round difference between the 2 in terms of price tag. So I think absolutely there will be values on day 2, especially at edge rusher, because there's so many of these guys. Edge rusher is a premium position, so they're going to go quick. But at the same time, the volume is going to ensure that it stretches out throughout day 2. I think wide receiver is one of those positions that stretches out. Offensive tackle as well. So there's a few positions that I think on Friday we're going to see them kind of dominate with how these picks fly off the board.
So all the positions the Cowboys need. Sounds like a plan to me. Let's go.
You love to hear that. Dane Brewer, thank you so much for joining us. I know that this is the final countdown. The finish line is in your midst, and you're going to be insanely busy. We do appreciate you always taking the time to just hang out with us and just give us a little bit of that insane knowledge that you've been able to curate. So thank you so much, my friend.
No, you guys are awesome. I miss you guys.
Thanks, Dane.
Miss you too, buddy.
All right, so we've been spending all off-season gathering knowledge. It's time to put it together. We're going to do a little mock draft of our own. Coming up next. All right, David. Feels like
Makes me uncomfortable when you call me David.
the final countdown. I personally am in the final 3 weeks of my graduate degree, so I'm preparing for a lot of finals.
This is the first time I've seen you in like a month.
It's true. I am a half human being at this point. So I'm trying to attempt to take all the knowledge that I've learned and put it together in just in this wonderful capstone project. And I'm going to make a really poor analogy and try to say that we're doing the same thing
I
with
think
the draft.
you're doing a good job.
Am I doing an okay job?
I like that analogy.
Stay with me here, guys, because Dave's basically been doing the same thing all offseason. You've been listening to the draft show on DallasCowboys.com. We're going to put you.
Yeah, I actually I studied for the test. Like I'm ready to go.
Speak for yourself. I study a lot.
I feel relaxed. I socialize with you. I wonder about that.
Anyways, before they go ahead and try and retract my degree come May 20th, Dave, we're going to do a little bit of mock draft. Obviously, we got a ton of great knowledge from the guru himself, Dane Brugler. We're going to go through the first 3 rounds. I got 4 different options for you. I'd like for you to make a case. I might add some color commentary in on who the Cowboys should draft. You're going to have the GM hat, though. Okay, are you ready?
I can't wait.
All right, so let's kick it off the first round.
All right.
This is a really easy one. Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas. Kenyon Green, O-line from Texas A&M. George Karlaftis, defensive end from Purdue. And Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. You've heard a lot of these names already, everyone. Pick 24 for the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like Treylon Burks is a really easy one to start with because, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of Arkansas ties here in Dallas Cowboys land, so it could naturally make a lot of sense. Is that a viable pick that you would make, or are you thinking some of the other guys on that list might make a little more sense?
It's absolutely viable. The irony is that Jerry and Stephen Jones have only used 1 draft pick on an Arkansas player in their history. It was Felix Jones all the way back in 2008. So Treylon Burks would only be the second one. I thought Dane lined it up perfectly in the last segment. This is going to put the Cowboys to the test of what they really mean when they talk about best player versus need. Because the needs at guard and receiver are undeniable. And the temptation is going to be there to reach for a need. Now, you saw those other 2 names. George Karlaftis, if he's there at 24, that is an upset. That is something you absolutely have to consider. You could make the same case for Devin Lloyd, but again, they have Micah Parsons. Do you need to spend that resource on a linebacker in back-to-back years? Sure. Probably not. I think the tiebreaker is just that the caliber of player you can get at guard, I think, will be better. Treylon Burks is a great player. I think Kenyon Green is a better player. And so if that's my case scenario, I'm drafting Kenyon Green to be my left guard, and I feel great about it. And I think the Cowboys
out there. Are you actually? Is this you? Are you cheering for? Can we get a thumbs up from you?
I would love that pick. Kenyon Green would be a great pick.
Big Aggie guy.
Kenyon Green might not even be there. He'd be that good of a pick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. So we're gonna go Kenyon.
So we're fixing the O-line, baby.
I love it.
Left guard. Tyler Biadasz will play better with a caliber of player like Kenyon Green next to him. We feel great about the O-line after round 1.
All right, well, let's go into round 2 then, because let's assume, based off of that pick, here's the best available players left. All right, so you got another O-line option out there. I mean, listen, there's a lot of problems. Abraham Lucas out of Washington State. Christian Watson, wide receiver, North Dakota State. Sam Williams, Ole Miss. Perrion Winfrey. I love the name Perrion Winfrey, and because of that, I want to take a look at him real quick. I mean, listen, name alone, he just sounds like he could be a great Dallas Cowboy. Like, look at him. Like,
okay.
He could make a lot of sense.
His name is great. He kicks even more ass as a player. I mean, you don't win Senior Bowl MVP as a defensive tackle if you're not good. Like, he is a violent, disruptive player.
Love to hear those things about my DTs.
Again, my only thing here is positional value versus the resources that you've spent. The Cowboys made a great call drafting Neville Gallimore from the same school. Sure. This would be the 4th year in a row that they've used a big-time pick on a D tackle, though. Tristan Hill, Neville Gallimore, Oso Odighizuwa. I get it. Not all of those picks have been home runs, but how many years can you afford to go back to the same well? On another end of the spectrum, we talk about the need at receiver. Christian Watson is one of my favorite players in this draft class. Big, fast dude, can do a little bit of everything, dominated the Senior Bowl. Would the Cowboys draft an FCS player at 56th overall? I don't think so. So I look at 2 things here. Need, and then follow the tea leaves. And if the tea leaves tell me anything, it's the Cowboys love Sam Williams.
Is this like a spiked tea, like a hard
Yes,
tea?
This is like a Mike's Hard Lemonade is what this is. And when Dan Quinn
Twisted tea.
When Dan Quinn goes down to work Sam Williams out on his own, and then Sam Williams is like, yeah, I've been talking to Jerry Jones about how much they'd love to have me here. Doesn't always mean everything, but it's hard to ignore.
Okay.
This is a super athletic defensive end. He set the Ole Miss record for sacks in a season.
Would you love to hear?
If he's available at 56, I really think he would be the pick.
Come
Again,
on down, Sammy.
the only question would be is if he's still available at 56, because like Dane said in the last segment, these pass rushers are going to fly off the board.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and assume that he is. So that's our second round pick. Shall we move on to the third round?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right. So third round.
Pick 88, which
All
has
right.
a good history in Dallas.
Oh, does it?
I was just thinking more along like the number 88.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you one guy they've drafted 88th
I
overall.
literally thought you were going to like name off
No,
some
I'm not
incredible
Dane.
players. And
I'm not Dane. I don't know that type of stuff.
Okay, well, I do know that based off of this mock draft we're doing, these are 4 people that are still going to be available. Okay, so Jelani Woods, tight end. We talked about tight end today. So out of Virginia, Khalil Shakir. Wait, I just totally messed up. How many times did I ask you?
You've asked me how to say his name like 4 times.
Just go ahead and help a girl out.
Khalil Shakir out of Boise
Khalil,
State.
I'm so sorry. I've literally said your name correctly 3 times and then I butchered it, so I apologize.
Boise, not Boise.
Out of
Just for
Boise.
No, Boise.
You know how this Cowboys team likes to draft people that play on a blue field.
It's true.
All right, so Myjai Sanders out of Cincy, and then Cam Jurgens, a center from Nebraska.
A center that I hear they like a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So since we both have an affinity for Dalton Schultz, let's just kick it off with tight end real quick. Realistically speaking, is this a pick that you would make should he be available in the third round?
I can already hear everybody freaking out like, oh my God, we don't have a receiver. Dave hasn't gotten us a receiver. This is terrible. Which, look, I get it. They do need a receiver. But if Jelani Woods is there, that's where I'm starting. Can I interest you in a 6'7", 253-pound tight end? He's not a mauler blocker, but I just told you how big he is. You don't think you can teach a 6'7", 250-pound guy to get in the way a little bit? And oh, by the way, going back to 1987, this dude's got better freakazoid test numbers than anyone that's ever come out. Better than Vernon Davis.
What?
Better than Kyle Pitts.
Is that good?
The guy that I was in love with last year.
Love.
Jelani Woods has better testing numbers than him.
This man has never been in love with anything in his life more than he was Kyle Pitts.
I don't feel a capacity to love
Big game
unless
Dave energy.
we're talking about the draft. So I get it. The need at receiver is very, very real. But this guy, A, can help you in the passing game. B, helps you figure out the long-term future if you don't re-sign Dalton Schultz. Also, Kellen Moore loves 2 tight end sets. I'm not even worried about the rest of the... Myjai Sanders, great player. They just drafted Sam Williams. They don't need him. Cam Jurgens, great player. Tyler Biadasz is still here. Not going to say they don't need him, but they can afford to wait on that. It really comes down to receiver and tight end for me, and I think Jelani Woods is worth taking the risk more than drafting a receiver. You can figure that out later.
All right,
Put
so
Jelani Woods on my team right now.
GM Teej, if we're going to go ahead and summarize who he's picking for said Dallas Cowboys.
GMT. I sat here for 5 whole seconds trying to figure out what the hell that meant.
That's a throwback reference.
GMT.
And I really hope that
Don't
some of
explain
you-
it. If you're new, like, you don't need to know if you're new. That's
All
for
right.
old school fans. only.
Well, if Dave has his way, it's Kenyon Green, Sam Williams, and Jelani Woods. They're going to be wearing stars on their helmets.
I fixed the O-line almost twice over because Woods is going to help you block. And I found a pass rusher. I'm feeling good. We can find a veteran receiver somewhere. Like, there are receivers out there that we can hire. We can draft on day 3. We're going to the playoffs, baby. I just fixed this damn team.
I think our job here is done.
You're right. I only hope the real Cowboys can do half as good a job as GM Teej.
All right,
You're
guys.
welcome.
Thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.